This movie was not what I expected at all. It was marketed as a horror thriller. It's definitely not a horror film. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, and comment below what you think about this movie I'm going to talk about. Today I'm going to be talking about a thriller film called Cultkiller. Now this film is going to have a limited theater release on January the 19th, and I got this a little bit early from Saban Films, and I want to thank them for sending this screener over to me. Now this film was directed by Jon Keeyes, and I've never heard of any of his films before. He's done 16 films apparently, and I've never watched a single one up until now. The film, it stars Alice Eve, Antonio Banderas, and also Shelley Hennig. The film is about a private investigator who is forced to join alliance with a killer and to actually uncover a quiet town's criminal activity and to also clear her mentor's name. Now for positives, I'll go ahead and start off with the acting itself. I think that acting is fine here. I don't think anybody is given a performance where I'm like, oh yeah, they should definitely get an Oscar, or there's a performance where I definitely need to revisit in this film. I think the cinematography in this film, it definitely is strong in points, and I think there are certain camera angles, certain shots, and just certain things they did with the camera that do make some of the shots feel kind of unique. I think the music in this film, I think it definitely matches what it's actually going for, but I also think the music can be a little bit overhyped at times and make it feel like the movie is a little bit more of a thriller than it actually is. But I do think in places it works, and it doesn't seem too wacky in certain places. The film starts off in a bar, and we're introduced to Antonio Banderas, and we also have Alice Eve, and she's hanging out with all these different guys. She's getting drunk. She obviously has a drinking problem. When she gets harassed by these guys, Antonio Banderas saves the day, and they become partners, and eventually it is revealed that she is going to be an investigator with him, but also he gets killed very early on in this film, and there's a lot of flashbacks on which they do to actually show their relationship throughout this film. I didn't like that they actually killed his character off really early in the film. It takes its time going through the narrative. This is not a film where you're expecting like a bang 'em up, shoot 'em up kind of film. It does have a few violent scenes. It does have some blood here and there. So you do have some of those crazy kind of bloody kind of scenes, but it's not where it's really over the top or really gory. And it's not a film where you can have like a lot of action to really expect. There isn't much of a mystery, and because it reveals its cards so early on, I'm sitting there after they actually reveal certain things in the movie, and I'm like, what are we gonna do for the next hour, 70 minutes, because it's so early on in the film, and that really hurts the film. I think it was a big mistake for them to actually do that. Certain things happen in the film too where characters automatically know certain things, and then there's other characters that flat out tell you certain things and clues that you would think that they would need to figure out, and they just casually say certain things, and I'm like, my gosh, you're just revealing every little thing. Like, what mystery is there? What thrill are we actually looking for here? And I just didn't like that direction. I also didn't like the killer very much. I didn't like how they were written. I felt like the killer was too tame. I felt like certain things that this killer was doing. Now, there is somewhat of a backstory with this character that really ties into our main character, which, you know, they try to put those similarities in there, like, okay, you should probably feel sorry for the killer. But then there were certain things where the killer would do certain things, and the killer was just like, oh, well, I'm sorry I did that. And it's like, what the hell are we doing here? Because if this is supposed to be a movie where we're hunting down a killer, I would expect it to be a lot more mystery-like maybe Scooby-Doo-like type thing, but it never really gets to that point ever because everything is so convenient. The writing was also not very good as well. Like, for instance, in the beginning of the film, when Cassie is looking for this killer, she comes face to face with the killer very early on, and you think that they would actually face off, and she would be really pissed at the fact that she killed the person that she was working for, but we don't actually see that, and we already get all the cards revealed with the killer and what their motives were, and it's just like, really? This is the route we're going? Then there's another part in the film right around that time also, where she's going through this house and she's investigating this house because there's a murder that went down at this house. And she actually conveniently just finds a trap door and reveals more secrets about it. I was like, okay. Then there's some other really bad writing where you have this lawyer and he goes to the cop and he's like, yeah, don't investigate that. Don't investigate this. And it's just like he makes himself very suspicious, and there's just certain characters that make themselves very suspicious very easily. And I think some of those characters, the way that they're written, I just didn't really like it. Then you have another set of characters that are older people that reveal certain things, and they just flat out tell you every little thing like it's no big deal, like it's super casual as to what they're doing. There's all these little things in the film that tie together, of which the killer of what they were doing, I was just like, this is a really pitiful excuse for this killer to be doing what they're doing. And by the time the film actually ended, I was just like, man, this was not very good. Unfortunately, with this film, I think there could have been things that they could have actually changed, especially with the revealing of the killer so quickly. That just killed it for me completely, because when you do something like that and you're trying to have a thrilling film, that just takes away from it. There's no thrills in this film. Everything is told for you up front. And not only is it told for you up front, there are certain characters that flat out just tell you things casually, like I said. So when you do that, how can you have a film be thrilling? How can it be a mystery? And I think that's what really hurts this film. I didn't like also that they kept using these flashbacks. I did like the fact that we got that background with Alice Eve's character and Antonio Banderas. He doesn't have a name in this film either, which I'm not sure why. Very strange. But I do like the fact that we have some of those flashback scenes between them and learning their relationship. But I just felt like there were times where they would show those flashback scenes, and I think it would take away from certain action of the film, which I don't know why they would put it in certain spots, but I think some of the editing here wasn't that great. I also don't like the fact that they market this as a horror thriller film. Sometimes I just don't understand if it's the studios or who is classifying these films as a certain genre, and it's not that genre. This is not a horror film at all. There's nothing scary in this film. There's nothing really too crazy, I would say, that really goes down as horror whatsoever. I guess you could say some of the violence and some of the blood really kind of maybe would be horror, I guess, but there's nothing horror about this film. It's probably what I would say a drama, maybe like psychological kind of thing, like with like real light thriller, but not much thrill, unfortunately. I also read that this was filmed in Ireland, and I read that in June, because this is when they filmed this, it is a lot more lighter and there's a lot more light than there is darkness. So I think it's only dark for about 4 or 5 hours in June. So the film had to be completely rewritten, and it was filmed all during the daytime. So I do wonder what the actual original product was when the film was supposed to take place in the dark. So there must have been some rewrites here and some editing that maybe changed the film's concept a little bit, and I definitely think that the writing just wasn't really all the way there. And unfortunately, I'm going to give a score of this film a 2 out of 5. It's just not much of a thrilling film. I really was just kind of taken back at the fact that, it revealed its cards so soon, and that really just took away from the film. And then add the fact that the killer is not that strong of a killer, and I don't really believe them as a killer, and I'm just a weak excuse for them to even be a killer, unfortunately. So I just cannot recommend this film. But let me know in the comments, is this a film that you're going to check out? If you have checked it out, let me know in the comments what you think about it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys on my next review.